The transformation in digital finance is no longer just a theoretical topic. It is currently taking place. The design of the new global financial system is taking place behind closed doors in boardrooms crowded with regulators, legislators, and blockchain developers. Additionally, Project Ubin is turning out to be one of the most significant endeavors in this shift. The original goal of Project Ubin, which is overseen by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, was to test out cross-border digital currency settlement. However, a number of public and private sources claim that Ubin has subtly moved into its last and most ambitious stage, with the XRP ledger serving as the technology that powers it. You must recognize Singapore's place in the global financial system in order to comprehend why this is such a significant change. Despite its small size, Singapore's economy is significantly more powerful than its size, functioning as Southeast Asia's regulatory and financial hub. Central banks and financial regulators worldwide now look to the Monetary Authority of Singapore as a model due to its reputation for openness, technological adoption, and precise policymaking. Therefore, MAS is sending a statement to the entire globe when it decides to use a blockchain to power its central bank digital currency infrastructure. And it's an obvious message. XRP is prepared for adoption by sovereigns. In reality, Project Ubin has been operating in stages since 2016. It started with a few small-scale blockchain-based interbank settlement experiments. They began with test beds based on Ethereum. Hyperledger and Quorum were also assessed. However, the limitations of these systems became rather obvious as the project's scope grew over time, moving from the tokenization of fiat assets to these extremely intricate multi-jurisdictional settlement simulations. Progress was significantly slowed down by high gas prices, latency under load, and regulatory integration obstacles. Insiders claim that at that point, Ripple Labs returned to the discussion with a completely compatible solution based on the XRP ledger. The plea? It was energy efficiency, speed, compliance, and, above all, enterprise-grade scalability with practical precedence. Ripple is more than just a blockchain startup, you see. In fact, it has been working in the background for almost 10 years, using its RippleNet infrastructure to link banks, central banks, and payment companies. MS was already familiar with Ripple from past partnerships. However, in recent years, the XRP ledger has matured into a standalone infrastructure layer that can handle tokenized securities, programmable CBDCs, and instantaneous cross-border transactions without sacrificing control or compliance. MAS was in dire need of this. A recent study that was released from a mass partner institution claims that Project Ubin's reach has expanded well beyond Singapore's boundaries. The current goal of the project is to provide a common financial infrastructure for the ASEAN area, which comprises major economies such as Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Despite their differences in politics and culture, these countries have one significant barrier in common: delayed, expensive, and disjointed cross-border settlement procedures. XRP is useful in this situation. The MAS intends to establish a regional digital payment alliance driven by XRP liquidity by providing these nations with real-time settlement infrastructure through Ripple's technology. Let's take a moment to think. Consider the consequences of that. Institutional demand for XRP is expected to skyrocket if the ASEAN group, which has a combined GDP of nearly $3.6 trillion, begins utilizing XRP as the bridge currency to route transactions through a shared blockchain infrastructure. Retail hype isn't what this is. DeFi, this isn't speculative. Central banks, trade ministries, and commercial banks are all in this top-down adoption funnel. XRPL might be used to settle any transaction, including real estate purchases, interbank transfers, and international remittances. That's an annual influx of trillions. However, it doesn't end there. For many years, Singapore has been a test site for international financial innovation. Other high-trust financial countries, such as Switzerland, Dubai, Hong Kong, and even London, frequently replicate its rules. MAS is essentially endorsing Ripple with institutional sanction by basing their CBDC system on XRP, and many central banks worldwide will undoubtedly take notice. Switzerland is reportedly mulling a partial XRP-backed franc project, and RippleNet is being investigated by Dubai's regulators for commodity settlement lines. It began in Singapore and is having a cascading effect. For now, let's return to the financials. The first infrastructure and liquidity provisioning budget for Project Ubin's final phase is estimated to be approximately 500 billion Singapore dollars in the leaked MS document. That amounts to over 370 billion US dollars. Tokenization frameworks, national reserve allocations, digital infrastructure investments, and liquidity provisioning for regional settlement corridors are all included in this figure. Crucially, in order to guarantee steady and quick settlement capabilities, a portion of that expenditure is allocated to purchasing XRP on behalf of commercial and governmental stakeholders. Tens of billions of XRP would need to be locked away, according to even conservative estimates, which might lead to significant price pressure. Singaporean financial analysts have referred to this as the most progressive action in the history of the region's currency. Singapore doesn't make little advances, according to an anonymous source who worked as an executive at an investment bank with headquarters in Singapore and was quoted in an internal industry journal. MAS places large wagers. The buzz isn't the reason to choose XRP. It has to do with resilience, infrastructure, and sovereignty. Although that comment was swiftly removed from the publication, it has already been preserved in forums and blockchain media, and whether or not it has been formally verified, boardrooms throughout Asia share this sentiment. XRP is a financial infrastructure as well as a digital asset. What does this signify for the future of the XRP market then? Such institutional confirmation renders the speculative use case outdated. XRP doesn't require any more hype. It has sovereign demand in the actual world. It is being integrated by regional central banks. It is being used by commercial banks to settle actual payments. I can't wait to see you again in the next video. Be careful.